When a man tells you he has a bad Christmas, it boils down to one thing: money.
For most men watching, most of it is down to our daily routine. If you change your daily routine for positivity, you will have a very positive year.
This holiday will pass. This Christmas will pass. 2024 will pass. Don't make what is temporal permanent. We have a gift for two men because we know that there may be a married man out there who has a family but cannot buy rice, things are so tough. On the YouTube page, Raf Iowa YouTube page, the first two names, put your contact details there. We'll contact you where you will get this gift that we have. Please make sure that you qualify because it's only for people who cannot afford to buy rice for their family. If you can afford to buy rice and you put your name there, or to follow you, right? Hello, precious people. Welcome to Rav Table Talk Podcast. Our goal is to transform lives through meaningful conversations. Today's guest is pharmacist Gerard Idigwe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pharmacist Gerard Idigwe is a distinguished lifestyle pharmacist with expertise in mental health research, focusing on the intersection of lifestyle and men's mental well-being. He serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Best Option Pharmacy. Once again, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
Today our conversation is going to be very evocative because we are looking at the season, Christmas season. And because of your expertise, research on men's mental health, I remember when I look at how many, I'm 48. So if you look at...
Not good for A, by the way.
Thank you so much. So you can calculate how many Christmas I have actually spent. And I can tell you that as a father, I've had bad Christmas and I've had good Christmas. When a man tells you he has a bad Christmas, it boils down to one thing: money.
Of course.
The responsibility. I look back and I can remember one Christmas where I could not afford to even buy rice for the family. It was hard, yes. It was that it was affecting me mentally because of the cultural expectation of a man. And I reached out to somebody, a doctor. I can never forget that man. For me, I don't forget people who helped me in my valley seasons in
the growings.
Yeah, and I just called him and I told her, hey, Christmas is around the corner and I don't have money to even give my family that good celebration. This is way back. I've been married for 1 years. He sent...
That was probably even when the economy was better.
Yeah, so you can imagine now. He sent me 100,000 naira out. I'm telling you, that made a whole difference. But the good thing was that I reached out. I did not sit there and wallow in pain. I reached out and I was able to give my family a fantastic Christmas. So why do holidays often come with overwhelming responsibilities for men in Africa?
I could write a book about why. The why is very detailed, and it dates back before even our grandfathers were born. It's a whole cycle that started with evolution, really. Like how the man was always designed to be the provider. Do you get? So it's even, and in the African culture, it's not just a saying, it's a living, let me put it that way. So the man was always designed back in the day to always be the provider, and the woman was always designed to be the nurturer, the glue for the family, if I should put it that way. But like culture has cracked these days, and it's more should I say, it's more fluid. But it hasn't changed the perception of the man today. Okay, growing up, a man of this generation probably grew up, 80 or 90% grew up looking at their fathers. Now, they forget that their fathers grew up looking at their own fathers. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all we've ever known is what we've seen, and in a repetitive kind of format. So you can imagine if you saw your father growing up and he always used to do everything in the house and he always used to ask all the questions and solve all the problems. That's bad, by the way. I'll go more into detail about it. And he always solved everything. School fees money, boom. Hostel money, boom. School money, boom, boom, boom. As a child growing up, you are dependent on that.
Yeah.
Now, you did not take into account the pressure was bearing on your father. You were just, I need money for this, I need money for that. They used to joke about this thing back then, that you wouldn't know how adulthood until you get there. Like, until you get there, you appreciate it. But back then, we didn't appreciate these things. So you can see that it was a cycle that didn't just start today. Now, it's not even particularly just holiday seasons, but you see, holiday seasons bring the most pressure because for 2 reasons. One, you have to enjoy the holiday. Next, you have to provide for after the holiday. There's school fees, there's a lot of things coming with after holiday season. So it's like you're planning for 2 different things entirely. And the funny thing is, every or most of every man can do this effectively without showing cracks. Meaning, you can do it with a smile on your face. And your family will still be asking you for this and be asking you for that, and you still be bearing all these things. Now, this is the most important thing you said. It's a drowning effect. And the only way out of that drowning effect is to look for someone else that you can share that with. Someone, preferably your spouse. You can share those worries with. You can share that. Or most men just feel like, their wives would see them as weak if they start sharing these problems with them. But that's the best example of who you could share that with, that you can confide in. But if you don't have that, you have to have someone that can relate to what you've been through and that can help you out of it. Like the example you gave, you had doctors. Do you understand? That probably knows what it feels like to be in your shoe. And he knows exactly how to answer certain questions you ask him and how to give you certain replies that will help you at that time. I don't know any successful man today that did not have a mentor or did not have someone they look up to. So yeah, the thing about, and mentoring starts from when you're a child. Your father is your mentor. The bad part is you don't really choose who your father is. You understand? You can't really pick and choose what you get to. But at an adult, you don't literally choose. Yes, you can. But then what happens with all that time is that there has been a deposit of traumatic experiences that have built up your childhood into adulthood. Now, the most important thing you've probably taken out of that is that you must be a provider. That's what the man is. Now, that's why you feel the pressure. But then it comes with a whole bunch of baggage, if I should call it that. It could be a baggage of anger when you're under pressure. The pressure of the holiday, the pressure of providing. Now, you saw your father always beat your mother when he was not your mother, not your father, by the way. Yes, perfect. But do you get what I mean? So it comes with baggages, but you have to learn all of that together with that providing factor. That's why what I mean when I say that you can't really choose what to pick or what to download from your mentors. But as an adult, you can now rewire that whole process. So if I should answer that question, because I have to go deeper into it before I come back. It's a pressure of 2 different things. You have to provide, and you have to do so without looking weak, because culture has made it feel like every man should just be strong. Every man should be a rock. Every man should not even, like, you can't show your children any vulnerability. If not, they might start talking to you anyhow, and your wife might see you as something else. These are real fears. Like, I have counseled men that are probably twice my age, and I've learned so much from what they grew up to believe. And some of these beliefs are so strongly rooted that they can't even change it in the rest of their life.
Very true.
You can't convince them otherwise. So it's a thing that it takes first acknowledging it and then working towards building that building block, or taking out the old wires and laying in new wires. Let me put it that way. So yeah, it's a thing that didn't just start today, and it's a pressure that almost every man I know, even myself, I had pressure this holiday season. Trust me, like, the economy now is upside down. So you're talking flight tickets are triple what they used to be. You have a family, you have everyone, and you have to do it with, composure. Steez, they say. There. So it's not a today thing, and it's something that we need to talk about more often.
I agree with you. And that is why we're having this conversation, because there may just be a man out there who is overwhelmed with the responsibilities, with the burden. And because of the stigma, to say, the societal expectation, the traditions, most men have a challenge reaching out. They have a challenge crying out for help.
Exactly.
They will rather die in silence to protect their ego, their dignity. And it's almost like a stigma when a man cries out. But we're here to say, hey, we're all human beings. And sometimes for a man, it can be overwhelming If you look at the statistic, it's really crazy. Globally, men are about 3.5 times more likely than women to die of suicide.
I was just about to say that. Funny enough, okay. It was in my head because I've seen these numbers. Like, it's one of the leading causes of death in men.
In men, yeah, suicide. Even depression in men manifests
And
differently with dog.
It's higher between men in their 18s to 30s and 18s to 40s, rather. You see, when you even cross that in your 50s, you don't care much about life and all of that. You take, it's very high from 18 to 30 something. Well, the rate is crazy because you're just getting into adulthood. You're getting into discovering yourself in your 20s. In your 30s, you either are a failure or you're not a failure in the eyes of the world. Do you understand? So it's like you can't experiment much at that stage.
Yeah.
And the pressure is double.
So even this Christmas journey down, there's pressure.
Yeah.
People are going back to their villages to display their wealth, display their joy. And that's why the crime is usually very high.
Of course, around
this festive period. Because so many young men are trying that. I mean, they're doing some mental
expectation of expectations. Dabbling peers and stuff.
Dabbling into Yahoo.
Yeah.
The crime rate increases. So they're doing so many ungodly things so that they can just meet up to the societal expectations. And we're here to say you mustn't take that route. You should cry out, and you should know that we have different seasons. We have phases. I mean, I've had bad Christmas and I've had fantastic Christmas. So why should I kill myself? Why should I make what is temporary? Yes, this too shall pass.
And that's the message. Has this very TD Jakes, Bishop Jakes. I love him so much. He says, don't make permanent decisions over a temporal place or a temporal situation. Don't make permanent decisions over a temporal situation. I can't lie to you. There are phases in my life that the things I worried about that I thought would kill me, I cannot even remember. You'll be so crazy. You'll be thinking about it so much. You'll be saying, wait, there was a time you were worried about
this
passing exam.
Yeah.
And now who is, do you understand? Now who's bothering you about that? Like, it's just.
It's amazing that this Christmas period, there's one young man that is doing I must, you must pray and make it. I must represent. I must go with a bride.
I'll come back with this. I look like the village would think I'm dead.
So what do you have to say for that? There's a young man now that is under pressure to perform, to represent, to meet up with expectations. And he's about to go into Yahoo. Let's say, he's about to dip his hand into something. Yeah. What would you say to it? Because he feels that if I don't represent this Christmas, I'm a goner. My reputation, my dignity is gone. What do you have to say?
You know what? I always say that if you search your soul, if you search your life, you probably find at least one person that is behind you in the worst of situations. And I'm so certain of it that at least you will have one person in your circle of friends, in your family, in whatever. You have one person that would never judge you no matter what. Reach out to that person. Don't ask for anything. Express what you're going through. See, that's the thing most people don't also take into account. Other people are going through stuff.
Yeah.
But, a problem shared is a problem halved. Right? So the person, what he's going through, hearing your problem can also help the person express their problems. And you people can even help each other. Like, half of the solution, half of the solution come together. So I would always say, look, the pressure will boil. It will boil. What you need to do is turn off the stove first. That's just my analogy of it. And say, look, search your friends, search your circle. Search the one person that is your ride or die. Not the person that will, why they tell me this kind of thing? You they fuck up or you they suppose on. No, the person, and I always say, for my trick, it's always the sister. It's always your sister, your big sister or your little sister. Sisters have a way of being both the mother and father in the family. They have this, I don't know, my elder sister is like my parents joined the one. Do you get what I mean? So it's always your sister or it's someone in your circle, someone you grew up with that knows your real self, not the self that comes out and is the hard guy and always laughing. Because man, we hide humor. We hide our pain traumas with humor a lot. Do you get? So it's that one person that knows you and can cut through your soul and see that, look, you're hurted. So for me, it's my sister. For most people, it's their sisters, but you have to find that for yourself. Reach out to that person. Don't ask for, I need to survive Christmas, because that's a temporal situation. If you patch it up and you don't patch up the mindset that brought you in that, position, there will be next Christmas. There will be another Easter. There will be, so it's like express how you got here in the first place. Like, did you lose money? If you lost money, how did you lose the money? Did you what got you here? Like, what's down? Did you break up with someone and then you just lost the will to live? Or did you, get some kind of, irreversible infection that you've just lost the will to be a man. And then now Christmas is coming. You have to keep up with the pressure. You have to, I always tell people when I counsel them, don't, don't treat your brain like it's a CEO and then you're like the secretary with a bunch of files of problems. Like, okay, there's this one, there's this one, there's this one. If you pile up files in your brain, it will crack. And the cracking is a way of saying, I can't take it anymore. Then what happens is you find that thing you have been bonding with as an escape. So for some people it's drugs, for some people it's sex, for some people it's alcohol.
Yeah, I was even about to say that there was the substance abuse during this time is usually very
high because they can't handle the pressure that they've put their brains under. And they put their brains under that because they're thinking about everything at the same time.
And there's also a tendency for some people who have saved, because we're talking about those who maybe they don't have anything to spend and enjoy themselves this Christmas. But there's some of them who have saved some money.
Yeah.
And there's a tendency for them to spend everything during this Christmas and then step into January, they don't have money to pay rent. They can't pay school fees because the excitement, they're trying to prove a point. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You travel and you want to prove a point. That does not even make sense. And then you come back broke. What will you say about how? Because in this season too, there are a lot of men that want to prove a point.
To be honest, that's even worse than not having for Christmas. To me, that's worse. Because I said earlier, that's what I was laughing. I said earlier, you're planning for 2 seasons. The hardest part is the season after Christmas. Because, family come back, everybody's eating rice and chicken and the smart ones are thinking 2 weeks from now or a month from now. You can't live in the moment with planning, especially with finances. You can't. You have to actually, with that savings, you have to even split it into 5. And the 1/5 of that should be what you spend in Christmas. Why is it into 5 is that even if you now stretch into the 1/5 and you still want to just show your big boyness, you can do 2/5. At least you have the 3 over 5 of that left. You can't just have all of that in one basket and then use all that, because January hits you hard. January hits, and the pressure with January, because maybe you want to turn a new leaf. See, this is one of the reasons people don't keep to New Year's resolutions, because they want to do something. They want to start exercising. They want to quit alcohol and all of that. They mean it. January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. They probably mean it. But now, life just happens to you. Finances will not wait for you. They don't care about your emotions. Bills don't care about your emotions. Your health doesn't care about your emotions. All these things, you have to still find a way to balance it out. And the best way is just, like I said, you can't know everything. You have to have a support system. Even if it's not an older mentor, a group of friends that you can, there should be a group of friends you can chill and vibe and party with. There should be the internal group. It's usually a very small circle that you can discuss like futuristic things with, things about what to planning things, what to save, what to do, investing things. And so, yeah, for those people, I'd say do not even spend this Christmas. Don't even act broke. Act like you don't have. You rather save that and spend it. Don't go out for Christmas then. You better spend it for the storm after Christmas, than spend it all and just for the name of it. And after that, everybody goes back to their own hustle and bustle, and you're left there with nothing and just memories. And so it's better to even save that for the
So what Gerard is saying is, hey, don't spend everything for Christmas. Plan for January. It's still life after Christmas. All right. So what are the mental health implications of feeling obligated to meet the societal expectations? What are the mental health implications for that?
2 major ones: depression and anxiety. These ones creep in, and they don't even just start in December. They start months before. You start to already ask yourself, you're not well enough, you didn't do this, you lost this money. Your brain has a way of reinforcing the evidences you present to it. So the environment you put yourself in. An example is, let's say you miss out on a deal, or you were supposed to be called up for something, or you lost your job, or you did something. And, there are 2 ways to react to losses. You can either tell yourself that it's a lesson, or you can blame yourself for it. Now, the brain will just throw back what you give it. So that's what depression builds as. Depression is like, oh, you've reinforced the belief that you were not good enough. That's why you lost your job. You didn't do enough and you didn't do that. Now with depression comes suicidal thoughts. That's how they come. Because why even living in the first place? Like, look at other men. See how they're doing. That's where social media becomes such a toxic weapon for that. It's a two-edged sword. You can use it.
That's what it's called, Facebook depression.
Oh yes, there is. You can use it to build or you can use it to break yourself down. The social media is just a tool. It depends. You decide how you use it. So, the mental health implications are very, very deep rooted in what you have reinforced for yourself. And like I said, there's a reason I went all the way back to where the roots come from. What you reinforced as a growing child is basically what your brain knows. Your brain only knows what it has experienced.
Yeah.
That's why you can take a decent child. If he grew up in a crack house, he will be dealing more crack than anybody else.
So true.
And if you take that boy as a baby and you grow him up with Catholic nuns and all of that, that's all he knows. Your brain just absorbs so much, especially in the early stages of your life. So mental health, and it's a big factor to what plays into suicide. The pressure that men feel, the pressure that people feel in general, not just men. Women also just feel pressure that might not be seasonal, but pressure from how to live up as a wife or as a girlfriend, as a just as a partner during.
No, it's true. Women have their pressures.
Exactly.
They have their own challenges.
Exactly.
And sometimes they can actually find themselves in wrong relationship or marriages where it is really unfair for them.
And the funny thing, it plays into what the man now has to deal with. It plays into like, so let's say you as a woman, you have these pressures and you're married or you're dating a man with more pressures and both of you are just radioactive and not communicating enough. So he has pressures to deliver on the timeline, on the things you told him you need for the house and all of that. You have the pressures of, you just feel like, you've not seen enough of him, or you've not felt his presence, or you've not felt his attention. Two of you are just not talking about the same thing you're dealing with in different ways. You understand? And you will feed off of the negative impressions. He will feed off of, why don't you understand? I'm trying to hustle. You just explode the relationship explodes, the household explodes, and all of that, bro. It's all linked together if you look at it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Robin Sharma, I've read a lot of his books. He said 90% of your joy comes from your spouse. 90%.
Angela. That's why the joy, happy wife, happy life.
90% of your joy comes from your wife. And there was a research on the mortality rates. And based on this mortality rates, it was said that if you are obesity, the probability of dying early is 20%. If you are an excessive drinker, the probability of dying early is 30%. If you are a smoker, the probability of dying early is 50%. But if you are in a toxic social relationship, if you are in a toxic marriage, your probability of dying early is 70%. So what that means is that alcohol, cigarettes, gluttony, toxic relationship will kill you faster than alcohol, will kill you faster than cigarettes, will kill you faster than gluttony. So based on what Robin Sharma says, that 90% of your joy comes from your spouse. How do you look at that in this kind of season? Because I think one of the greatest help that a man can have is having a wife that understands. Because the depression of a man is different from the depression of a woman. The way a man manifests depression is different from the way a woman manifests depression.
Like I said earlier, and it's like I even started before I knew what you were about to say, talk to each other. It's the simplest thing you can do. Like, I always tell people when I discuss with them separately, because you can have patients that are dealing with different things and you want to just counsel differently before getting to the root of it. Love is not enough. It's as simple as that. I love you is how you get started. That's the handshake. There's so much more that happens between that and actually having a successful relationship. And communication plays communication is the water, the vehicle that drives it through. So whatever you put there, if you put a negative thought in there, oh, he's probably cheating. That's why he's out late. Why he's probably just looking for contracts. That is what you communicate. And sometimes you're not communicating to him, you're communicating to yourself. That's why I say your brain reinforces what you tell it. Now, it continues to build and eat on you till you actually decide to act in a time that probably he has not seen or done, has not seen any evidence of any crack, and you have been building a case in your head.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you will just, at odds with each other. So I always say, when you actually say what's on your mind, you can actually know what's on the other person's mind. Now, if you put this season into perspective, I just explained that every man, or most of every man, I won't speak for everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Is looked up to their fathers, and they saw what Christmas was like in their father's regime. Because when you're a man, you're in your own regime. Now you understand. Their father's regime, they didn't lack the basics. They didn't lack all of that. Now, you can argue, oh, the economy was better then, the economy was that, but it's null and void to your brain that grew up in that perspective. All it cares is that you're supposed to deliver the way your father delivered. So what's stressing you out might not even be what your wife can see. If you don't even communicate and say, look, I feel this pressure and it's coming from this part of my life, your wife will never even know that what she's worried about is the opposite.
Yeah.
Complete opposite of it. So, like,
the communication is key.
It's the vehicle. Is like the way you drink water. It hydrates the soul. It actually, and when you communicate and you find out that you were wrong, oh, you were so relieved. You feel like, wow, I could have run another direction entirely and had to turn back. Or that's, and most people, I always say divorce, most people file for divorce after they have killed each other spiritually, socially, in the relationship. So it's that time when you notice those cracks that you were supposed to do something about it that you didn't do, and then you think, oh, divorce is just not, it was not meant to be. Now, I will speak for all divorce cases, because I know cases that are very traumatic and all of that, but in most cases, it boils down to lack of communication and lack of understanding. And understanding feeds off communication. You have to receive before you understand what you just received. So for this season, for the next season, for every day in a couple's life, you have to read each other. I always tell my wife, like, she had to, I had to tell her, no, because she knew more about it. Like, you have to be in a room with a lot of people, and you can tell when I'm ready to go. It's a connection thing.
Non-verbal communication.
Do you understand? You can tell when I'm already done with this place. You can tell when so without even having to say anything, she already knows, okay, this is what he's thinking. She knows when the thinking starts. So that happens with work. You have to build on that. So for this season, for next season, keep building.
Yeah.
Communicate.
Right. So effective communication plays a big role in alleviating the burdens that we carry.
Exactly.
And you said something about our fathers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brought me some pressure, because my dad gave us a fantastic Christmas holiday.
Every Christmas.
I remember I grew up in Zaria, and every Christmas we drove all the way to Benue. And in Benue, we had this culture where we go to the Kasnala rivers, the stream.
Okay.
It was like a festival every Christmas. Or we moved from Boko Town to Kasnala. It was so much fun. So the memories I have of Christmas with my dad was ease. It was ease. There was abundance. There was food. There was drink. We had fun. So the burden I had was I needed to replicate, I had to live up to that standard. And if I could not produce that for my children, there was a guilt I felt. I felt I was not giving them that memory, that kind of experience that I had. And that can really bring pressure. So how will you advise somebody who cannot walk in his father's shoe?
I was going to say something, to go all the way back as well, but I'll start by just saying a good father will even tell you don't have to fill my shoes. Just buy yours. That's the truth. Like, it all starts from how you were built as a young man, as a young boy, so I could spend all day on this topic, because men have to understand that you didn't just wake up to be a man. It didn't just happen on you. You were once a young boy that used to just play outside and pick up counter and throw all those things and play. No, so you had a formulation that all of a sudden doesn't feel relevant, and all that feels relevant is just this part of your life, where if you're not doing this, you're doing that. That if you're not successful, you're failure. If you didn't succeed in one thing, you've disappointed everyone. That's not true. As a child, people always say, like therapists and a lot of motivational speakers out there, they would say you have to live your life like a child. Literally, you have to think of when maybe as a child you used to play video games and you would fail, but you wouldn't feel bad that you failed. You would just play again.
Yeah,
That's what life is. If you take it that way, you understand that, okay, it's all about how many times you try again. Not about what, because I played video games as a child. So you would, this level will be so hard. You play. I said, let me rest this afternoon. I'll see you again in the night. That mentality, we forgot about it growing up as men. We forget that, look, it's about how many times you show up and how many times this particular task, you put in effort, you do so much in it. And that's why I say, like, sometimes you can't navigate that as a young growing man, even thrown into adulthood, and then you have to marry and you never knew that before.
Yeah.
You only saw that from your parents. And mind you, they might way before you knew what marriage was. Do you get? So it's up to them to teach you these things. Mothers will teach you what, treat your wife like a queen.
Yeah.
Fathers have to teach you, treat your wife like a queen in a different aspect. Don't put your pressures on her. Don't even have these pressures where you feel like you're not doing enough, or you have to live up to my standards. He probably didn't even follow the route his own father took, and he got to where he got to. And it's not just for successful fathers. Even fathers that are not successful can still teach their child that, look, just because I didn't have a lot doesn't mean that you can't go and hustle and make something of yourself. So it all starts from what they download, and then how you grow, and how you keep pushing from there, basically.
Wow, thank you so much. But I think we need to actually bring a balance to this. Yeah, because it is said that a son is supposed to be greater than the father.
Yeah, true.
And I think for young parents, we should be able to train our kids. Because most times I think why most men, adults, are having challenges is because their fathers did not mentor them properly.
That's it.
Did not train them properly. They were not trained financially how to manage their finances. They were not trained how to take care of a woman.
True.
And how to communicate. So I think for young coming up parents, fathers, we should be intentional on how we groom our sons. We should train them on financial management, train them on how to relate with their wives, how to love, how to care for their kids, because most of the adults were not mentored properly, of course. And now they find themselves in marriages and they don't even know what to do. And that becomes another challenge.
Yeah.
Because ideally, a son is supposed to be greater than the father.
Very true.
And if you have not been bequated with the right mindset, what ethics,
and even feel like you are in competition.
Thank you. So
See why it's a cycle. If you didn't get that as a father, and you didn't give that to your child doesn't know what to give to his own child. So they're going to grow up with the same mistakes if you don't correct it, or if they're not smart enough to learn from others. Because I know people that didn't look up to their fathers, they looked up to uncles and other
fathers
men around them. They were not the role models for them. So, but if you don't know to do that, and you just say, what did my father give me? Or this is what I knew, you are most likely going to have children that will do the exact same thing you did.
That's true.
And if they don't do the same thing to correct that, that's generational curses. That's what people with generational curses.
I agree with you.
You keep on passing down traumas up until God knows when. One smart generation will say, no, this is probably what they did, but this is not how it's done. I'm going to learn how it's done so that the next generation will be better off.
I agree with you. So, like Idigwe said, I think the advice we have for young fathers right now is that be intentional how you mentor your sons and daughters. Be intentional on the skills, the training that you're giving to them, so that we will not have so many adult men who are confused and don't know how to manage their resources, and then we have so many mental case issues because they don't even know what to do. Because if we were properly trained, in most cases, we will have minimal cases of adult men who are going through issues. It's not easy to be a man. There's a woman called Nora Vicent who was wondering what it's like to be a man. And she decided to disguise herself as a man for 2 years.
Really?
Yes, Nora Visena. You mean you can Google it. And the experience she had being a man was horrible. It was so horrible that this lady committed suicide.
And under disguise.
Yeah, she became a man for 2 years. She just disguised herself for
right.
2 years. And the experiences, what she was, she couldn't meet up to society expectation, the pressure, the burden. And she was like, this is what men are going through. Because sometimes the women in our lives don't even understand the pressure. I know women have their pressure, but men also have their pressure.
Definitely.
And this woman just decided to see what it's like to be harassing. And she ended up committing suicide. Her name is Donna Vincent. So, what advice would you give to men on prioritizing their mental health this Christmas? This holiday?
Enjoy it. Enjoy it more of the moments than what you do in the moments. Like, it's a time of rest. That's the first most important thing. So whatever you're doing, if you're not getting enough rest, then you're not doing it well. Because I'm sure most jobs or most offices will close for that period so that you can have time with your family. So if you now still use that time and you're still stressing at home, so I was gonna point out like the reason men die faster than women in this kind of cases is stress. Stress releases cortisol. Cortisol plays so much roles in different diseases, metabolic diseases, mental health diseases. So it's that and cortisol is not bad. So it's called the flight or fight chemical, right? Yeah. But imagine, and that was supposed to help you survive a short period of time. Let's say there's fire here now. You know how to, you even know how you broke this window and jumped out. Right. But imagine that was your life every day. Imagine you were in fight or flight every single day. That's cortisol in your blood. Before you know it, your nutrients are not going to where they're supposed to. They're going into your pumping your heart faster than it should, making you survive daily when you're not supposed to. I've done a bunch of videos on survival. So it's like, the advice would be, you need to rest first. You need to recharge, take time out, unwind, find out what you did in the year you didn't like. Because look, we start again very soon. And it's so funny how at the end of the year, you can't remember what you did January this year.
Yeah,
You can't remember January 12th or January 15th because most of us were just carrying on. We're patching up like soldiers and just moving. But if you take time to actually unwind and break down the year, you would actually be very intentional about what you do next, what you learn from what you did wrong, and what you can do better. And most of it, I'll give you this very important tip for most men watching. Most of it is down to our daily routine. If you change your daily routine for positivity, you will have a very positive year. You will have a positive holiday and a positive new year. If you have a negative routine where, you know, the negative habits, I don't have to say it, most of them feed off each other and your brain reinforces why you should continue there. So your brain will not even tell you, fight for this deal or go and hustle. Your brain will probably tell you you're not good enough because it wants you to still stay in that easy going habits that you put there in the first place. So your daily routines play, and that's how you build up 365 days. It's what you do one day at a time. Cumulative. So my advice: rest, unwind, rewire, learn, and talk to someone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know when you mentioned about cortisol, I remember a research that was conducted by Joe Dispenza.
I love him.
Yeah, and he had a workshop in Tacoma, and 117 participants. He did a research with them. He swiped their saliva to check out their, I think, immunoglobulin.
Yeah, I've watched one.
Okay, so what he did was he swiped the saliva and then told them that for the next 3 days they should be on elevated emotions 3 times a day for years. So elevated emotions were love, joy, gratitude. So 3 times a day for 10 minutes, they should have that elevated emotions. After 3 days, swipe their saliva and discovered that the hemoglobin A had shot up to 49.5% and their cortisol had dropped. So that means one of the ways we can reduce stress in our bodies is through elevated emotions. And I think for men this season, be grateful.
Yeah.
Be grateful. You may not have all the money, but you're alive. And if you're alive,
That's a fact.
like the Bible says, a living dog is better than a dead lion.
That's a fact.
That you are alive, it means that next year will be better.
I know how many people lost their lives this year, personally. You see? If you made it through this month,
You made it and you are alive. So my
enjoy the moment.
also add to your advice. My advice is, hey, let's have elevated emotions this holiday. Let's be joyful that we're alive. Let's be grateful. And, when you're grateful, it means you've received something. So when you're grateful, you're open to receive more. So our advice is, hey, I know that you may not have all the monies. Don't make what is temporal permanent. Don't make that. This holiday will pass. This Christmas will pass. 2024 will pass. Don't make what is temporal permanent.
It's true.
A living dog is better than a dead lion.
I like that. I'll write that down.
Yeah, it's better. So that means you can actually be a lion next year. You may not have a fantastic Christmas this year, but you can have a fantastic Christmas in 2025.
As long as you are alive, you have a chance.
So most importantly, be grateful for life.
So
be grateful. So as we come to an end, thank you so much for the insight, as the advice.
appreciate the time.
Finally, what impact do you want to be remembered for?
Helping people get healthier than they were before they met me. So I'm a big preacher on you don't have to wait till you're sick before you get treatment. So I'm a preventive therapist. I'm a preventive pharmacist. I believe the little things you do every day play a part to how much you can live longer. Longevity, like one of my quotes is, we create our own longevity. My goal is to guide you there, basically. So I would actually want to remember for the impact of helping people see that taking more cups of water a day helped them. Not today, maybe 5 years down the line. Their skin looks better. They're more hydrated, or, doing more natural things helped you in this way, so that you are avoiding things that, the life expectancy in Nigeria is 59 for men and is it 65 for women? We have one of the lowest in Africa. So you can tell that we are embracing things that we think is normal, but it's not. We're doing more of the simple sugars or more of the simple things that we think helps us survive the next day, but it's killing us faster. So I want to preach as much as I can about preventive measures that can help you extend the longevity that you were designed to have in the first place.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the wisdom, for the advice. Thank you. So how can people contact you?
On Instagram, or I don't really do Facebook. Mostly Instagram. Farm at
Gerard Idigwe?
At farm PHARM.Gerald GERALD. Farm Gerald. And from there we can talk, and then we can exchange contacts, because I actually love talking to patients. I spend a lot of time talking to patients.
That's all right. Before we go, we have a gift. We decided to come up with a gift, because we know that there may be a married man out there who has a family but cannot buy rice, things are so tough. So we have a gift for 2 men.
Yep.
We have a gift for 2 men. We have a gift for 2 men, and that gift is, the first 2 men, that you must be married, that means you're a married man, and you actually pay dowry for. You're not a Kanagida kind of man, but you have a wife that you pay dowry for, and you have children, but you found yourself in a situation where you cannot buy rice for your family for this season. So we have 2 bags of rice, 2 small bags of rice. The first 2 men on our YouTube page who put their details. You put your name, put your details, we'll contact you where you come and collect your bag of rice. So the first 2 names, 2 married men names on the YouTube page, Raf Iowa YouTube page, the first 2 names, put your contact details there. We'll contact you where you get this gift that we have. And please make sure that you qualify, because it's only for people who cannot afford to buy rice for their family. If you can afford to buy rice and you put your name there, what to follow you now? Make sure that you cannot afford to buy rice for this Christmas. The first 2 names that there will contact you and will give you that gift. Thank you for your time. And remember, this season will pass.
Yep.
Don't turn what is temporal. Don't make
a permanent decision from a temporary situation.
Thank you,
Thank
and I'm out.